Blessings, everyone. Today I would like to share an oracle reading from the Soul Oracle. This is a beautiful deck, and this oracle helps us to remember that this is a journey, and every step, even if we feel that we're not conscious enough or aware enough, is still writing another chapter in this beautiful book of life. So many feel that being spiritual means that our consciousness is able to always connect with all of the unseen world, or that we've created some kind of a healing space, that we've gone out and done something profound to be of service. But sometimes it just means that we've sat with ourselves. We've had that inner dialogue. And there's no spiritually bypassing this. There's no easy way through any of it. This is a very challenging journey. And there are these moments that hit us, that get in the heart space, that move us. There's people we meet that change our lives. And there's people that will come and go and lift us, encourage us, bring us wisdom, and some that's going to break our heart. But all of this is imperative. This is part of the spiritual journey. Being spiritual doesn't stop us from learning and expanding in all of these ways. We need life events. We need contrast. We need heartache. We need frustration. All of these things that so many say that we're going to evolve past in our frequency. It's always expanding like the universe. Consciousness is infinite. We cannot limit this. It is not limited. Our beliefs are limited. Our awareness sometimes is limited. But our consciousness and that expression through the soul is not. And the guides are always saying to me, try not to focus on what is good and bad, but focus on understanding. Focus on being able to see the big picture. Know thyself. And allow the highest good to always be served. And from this space, any message isn't a spiritual bypass, but it becomes a step forward, a step through. It becomes another understanding, another lens, another perspective on the journey. So being spiritual doesn't stop or change any of the lessons. They're still going to keep coming, but it gives us the expanded space to be able to understand that we can either take this on and process it and it becomes wisdom, or we create karma and we must learn over and over and over. And that is our free will choice. So first I would like to say thank you to Source for allowing me to be a medium of light. And I ask all in the unseen world to please blend so that I may help assist bringing a message for the highest good. Thank you, I'm grateful. I'm just gonna I always take the cards and I shuffle them 3 times. The first one is an honor of Source, the beginning of all that is. And the second one, honor of spirit and our higher self. And then the third, that honors this beautiful soul. This is what the oracle is about. It allows us to weave in and out of this consciousness of the now, It allows us to create a personality and express ourselves. It is the co-creative of a higher self. And then just moving the cards around, and the guides will stop me and say, okay, take this one, it's moving up. Face your adversaries. And as the energy blends, then they are moving through this. I'm listening. And they're saying that we've had many of these. Many of these come into our lives and we see this as something outside of ourselves. This is someone that's challenging us in some way, whether it's their beliefs, their words, their actions. It could be that we don't even really know someone. We've not interacted with them beyond just this moment. And perhaps they're triggering us. And what Spirit is saying is that all we have to do is learn to shift in that moment. Shift the consciousness from facing the adversaries and then noticing ourselves. Know thyself. What is being mirrored to us? Because we're all connected. What is this opportunity? Why is there duality? Because that's what we all came here for. Why would Spirit align, or why would we align in our soul chart, this interaction? What is causing this person to, instead of being another set of eyes that's reflecting source light, suddenly becoming a duality in us, a negative to our positive? Why are we taking this lens? Instead, why have we not learned over this journey, as soon as these things come into our awareness and something raises that tense feeling in our stomach, or our heart starts racing and we're speaking with someone, or we start feeling hurt or disappointed or angry and frustrated, why are we not training and refocusing inward and asking ourselves always, what is this inside of me? Of course, we understand that there are exceptions in these moments. If someone is becoming physically aggressive, we're not doing this. We're removing ourselves from that situation. Or if we're having a misunderstanding, we want to make sure that both are understood and heard, and then we take it from there. The value of the interaction becomes the direction of the solution. This is what Spirit is saying so strongly. The value of this interaction leads the direction of the solution. If this is a loved one or someone we care about, whether it's friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, if this is something that is causing tension, frustration, even anger, when we have value, when we have emotion invested, when we have time, or what earthly time, invested with this other soul that we're interacting with, we could slow this down a little bit. We can go inside and start to ask ourselves, take our accountability in this, and understand why we're feeling this with this other. The value is understanding that we're no longer having an adversary. We're having an interaction. This is somebody now that we're not just labeling with the controversy. We're not labeling them with difficulty. We're not going to start giving the situation a name, because when we start labeling the interaction, we're taking away the value. But we want to come to a solution. That's always the intention of this. If we're finding that something is creating adversity, we want to have solution. And that means going inward. First, making sure that we're coming from a place that's heart-centered. And that's very difficult. That's a level of self-mastery. That's why know thyself is so important, because we need to know how to find that space very, very urgently, very fast when we're having these interactions. And then from there, Spirit is saying, we want to move towards a solution. And how do we do that? We start taking away the triggers. We're not calling each other names. We're not noticing someone's weak points and playing on that. We're not going to allow the anger and frustration to lead where the interaction is going. We start to ask each other questions instead of start to make statements at each other. Why are you feeling this way? Why is this making you feel this way? Ask ourselves, ask the others. We mirror then. What we ask ourselves is what we should be asking others in these situations, so we can understand. We're no longer listening to be right, to gain control, but to understand because we have value. Now, when this is another interaction of somebody we're not familiar with, maybe we've never spoke to them before, we're at the grocery store and this person hits our car with a shopping cart, and then they get out and there's this interaction and we're going back and forth. There's no value in this. We have to ask ourselves, what's the core value? What's the intention of this? Is this to let them know that they did something that was wrong? They now scratched our car and what makes us angry? Is that what we're looking for in this? Or they've had a bad day and they're unleashing all their bad day on us in that moment, because it's like a free ticket to let it all out. But still in this moment, if we can remember, instead of creating more of that space, we have to ask ourselves, do we care whether this person is agreeing with us or feeling better from this? Or do we care if we are stabilizing our own emotions and our own reactions? This is the invitation from the universe to see how much of that toolbox are we really using. We can still get our point across. We can still face the adversaries. I'm sorry, they keep correcting me. We could still face our adversaries. We could still make sure that they understand why we're angry. But we don't have to put the value into it. We don't have to prolong it to be right. To make sure that this person is going to apologize instantaneously, because 9 times out of 10, that's a solution we're not going to get from someone that we don't have any interaction with before this point. The best case scenario is the person can apologize and either offer to pay for the damage, or if you exchange insurance. If you're in that part of the world, we have car insurance. Spirit is saying, or we walk away from this. But in that moment, we have to make the choice of when we walk away to just diffuse this energy. It's because we're taking accountability and we don't want to feel this anymore. We're not going to carry this through our day. Because if we do this, we're going to spread that energy to everyone else. And we don't want to send that. We don't want to give anyone that space in our consciousness, in our emotional space, in our energy space. They've already done something that was not very nice. So why carry that? Why give them that grace? So when we decide to walk away, we release that energy. We understand that, hey, now we have a scratch on the car. But we're not going to focus that. We're not going to carry that through the day. If we're willing to let it go, then we have to also make that agreement within ourselves that in that moment we're letting it go too within us. And so this is what Spirit is encouraging. Facing others doesn't mean that we have to all on war. I mean, we're going to have moments where we're not going to agree with politics, religion, moral codes. There's so many things that come up in our day. But as long as we are in that space where we understand that the value is what brings the solution, and know thyself, we understand what's coming up inside of us and why, is how we're going to take the road to solution, what choices we're going to make, and understand where we're making it from and why. And this has been such a strong message. They're pulling their energy. This has been a very strong message. I don't know if anyone else has been getting this one a lot recently, but this has been so strong for me about Know Thyself. And a lot of the people that I watch and interact with online, other spiritual mentors, and those people that have the shows on YouTube and do Twitter and Twitch and all of these kind of things live, and they're interacting and speaking. All of us seem to be going through this very powerful teaching right now of Know Thyself, because this is the equilibrium. And that doesn't mean know thyself that, well, we know we're vegan and we're going to stick with that, or I know what really sets me off or gets my goat. That's an aspect of it. But know thyself means understanding and knowing thyself, how to center, how to be objective, how to see the bigger picture. Where's that space within us? Know thyself to recognize the triggers, where just recently this came up in another podcast that I was listening to, where we have to know the difference between reaction and emotion. We can have the emotion of things. We know thyself. We know what upsets us, what can make us angry or frustrated or sad, but we don't have to react from that space. And when we know thyself, that helps us use the spiritual tools, reminds us that we're so wise and so much more than all of this. And there's going to be things that come up over and over and over again to test us. How are we going to know if we've reached that space? How are we going to know that all the tools are useful for us? How are we going to understand this if we don't have the adversaries, if we don't have the adverse moments, if we don't have the contrast or the duality, whatever words we like to give it? We need these things. It's imperative. That's where growth comes. It's like the old saying we always hear, if the sky is sunny, we're not going to see the stars. So we need the darkness so we can see how bright these beautiful things are in our night sky. And that's what we're doing. It's so simple, yet so complicated to apply. And so also Spirit is now still bringing through this message that we're doing the best we can with what we understand in this moment. That on the spiritual journey, we're always learning, we're always expanding. And so it's important that we give ourselves that mercy sometimes. We're only progressing with the knowledge and the understanding that we have in that very moment. If we're staying present, our future version of ourselves is going to look back at this and recognize that. When we have our life review, when we're no longer in the physical, we're going to recognize that. We're going to see that we did our best with what we knew. Much love, everyone. Beautiful blessings.